This is the story of chasing dreams. At some point in your life, you have to decide to leave comfort behind and chase a dream. Because if you don't, you'll be living with regret the rest of your life. My name is Sebastian, and I'm an engineer in the U.S. Navy. For the next year, I'll be living on board and refitting my 40-year-old Beneteau to be a cruising yacht that'll take me around the world. Little squirrel. Well, finally got the jib. Here we go. I didn't get any of it on video, but we ended up driving to Fort Monroe instead of taking the boat there because as we had pulled out the marina, my throttle cable had snapped. Active from 1934 until 2011, Fort Monroe is located in Hampton, Virginia, and guards the entrance to Norfolk, Virginia. In the modern age, Norfolk is the largest naval base in the world and home to much of the United States Navy. Hampton is known to be the first location African slaves ever stepped foot in Virginia, and later on, despite being in the state of Virginia, which joined the Confederacy during the Civil War, Fort Monroe was held by the Union Army for the duration of the war, and was somewhere escaped slaves would look to head in order to gain their freedom. After the Civil War, the Confederate States of American President Jefferson Davis was actually held prisoner here for 2 years. Today, Fort Monroe is open to the public and has a beautiful neighborhood inside of it with a cute coffee shop and what used to be a fire station. There's also really gorgeous beaches there, so I highly recommend going if you are in the area. Now back to the boat projects. My teak seating was in pretty rough shape. It had been varnished, and the silicon caulking between the slats of teak had been severely degraded, so I started with removing the silicon and then later on removing the varnish. I used a simple paint scraper, which worked great to remove the caulk. This process is kind of a pain in the ass. I used a paint scraper as well as a heat gun in order to get rid of the varnish. This teak has been done and redone so many times that the wood was getting a little thin in some spots, so I tried to use as little sanding as I could. got 120 grit here. I made the mistake here of letting the caulk dry before I moved the painter's tape. You really want to remove the painter's tape as soon as you put the caulk down, especially on a hot day like this, where the heat from the sun made the caulk dry really fast. One piece of advice I can give you is to not cheap out in your caulk gun. The one I'm using here is typically the cheapest one you'll see at the hardware store. I ended up upgrading later on, about halfway through the project, and it made my life so much easier with a nicer model. So I highly recommend getting a good caulk gun from the beginning. You're going to use it so often on a boat, you may as well invest in a nice one. It didn't seem like the owners of this boat could find their slip. So right here I've got my roof panel, and as you can see, the left side is perfect, but the right side here has some pretty serious water damage where the leak we patched earlier with the silicone soaked right through and damaged it. So I'm gonna go ahead and trace out on this new piece of plywood. They're both 1/4 inch thick. I might do some staining to match colors, and then we should be good to go. So it took some fitting to get it to work, but I have the replacement hatch pieces up on the roof, so you can take a look at them. They're nice and tight. And the next step is to take them out and see if I can get some stain that will match the color. For comparison, here is the old one with water damage. So this piece went right there, and that water damage was right from above from the hull penetrations for the wires that go to the top of the mast. So pretty rough shape, to say the least. So big improvement. Now that I had finished the sanding, I went on to use Starbright's 3-part Teak cleaner like I did in the previous video. Results speak for themselves. I'll let you watch. So right now the Teak is all clean and brightened up to the point of adding teak oil, and it looks really, really good compared to where it came from. I'm very happy with the results. Now all that was left was to apply teak oil. I'm not going to put any music over this so you can enjoy it as much as I did.